people of Earth are different from us, it's true. But ultimately, I believe that's a good thing. They won't necessarily make the same mistakes we did. Not if you guide them, Cal. Not if you give them hope. Embodied within that hope is the fundamental belief in the potential of every person to be a force for good. That's what you can bring them. You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun, Cal. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders.
We wanted you to learn what it meant to be human first. So that one day, when the time was right, you could be the bridge between two peoples. Look. You can save all of them.
Let there be light. This is how we are from the future. This is how you will become the light of the world as we invoke the sacred imperative together. Let there be light. 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 And the holy light is with us now. And the angels of the Most High are with us now. And they are cleansing your heart and soul of any darkness, any anger, any frustration, any fury, any outrage, and replacing all of that with the love, fortified with the power of justice. For when love and justice are united in your heart and in your soul, it unleashes a power unstoppable in this world. And now this power of love surges through your heart and extends to every soul you are connected to. And through those souls extends to every soul they are connected to. And you are doing the holy work now of anchoring the holy light and the love of God in this world and in the hearts of all of those whom you touch. Now take a moment and reflect on the world as you would have it be, as you would like to see it. All of the injustice, all of the outrage, all of the violence. It doesn't have to be this way. If we can just call in that holy light to work miracles through us and to bring in the infinite love of our Creator into the world. For what the world needs right now is more love. There's just not enough love to go around, and you are a conduit for that love, and that love can surge through you and bless all of the world. Let there be light.
Well, hello everybody. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed that intro. I'm flying solo again tonight, y'all. My partner in crime is back at another show. This is his busy time of year where they do a lot of trade shows for the family. And so thank you, Cookie. I appreciate that. I try and give you guys some really good entertainment outside of myself. You know, like everybody asked me, "Hey, ML, how you doing? How you doing? How's everything going?" And I said, "I couldn't be better than a redneck in a one-legged butt kicking contest." How's that sound? So, anyways, back to what I was saying. My partner in crime, he's got a busy schedule in his family business, and right now is on their season where they do a lot of shows, quilting shows, and trade shows and stuff like that. And so he may try. He's trying to get to a hotel, and so Dave said that he would try and get onto the show here midway through tonight. So I'm hoping that actually happens as well. Hey, let me give a shout out to all our good friends here that have tuned in to Triple R. I want to say, first and foremost, thank you to our moderators. Once again, Superfoods, Kathy, Cookie, you guys, thank you very much for what you do for us and all your support that you continue to give us, Dave and I. I want to give a shout out to Tamberly Granite out of Oklahoma. Thank you for tuning in to Triple R, Tamberly. Appreciate it very much. Let's see here. Strike M. Thank you. Thank you for supporting our show, Strike M. We appreciate it very much as well. Let's see. Who else do we got here? We have Geronimo Samanas. Thank you for tuning in and supporting us as always at Triple R here, Geronimo. Appreciate it very much. And we also have Viking, who's in the house. King Snurgle Gurgle Son. Appreciate you tuning in and supporting us as well, Viking, very much. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see here. Western Colorado is where Geronimo's at. Stacy Green, aye. Thank you for tuning in to Triple R. We appreciate it very much. And for those that are tuning in, my cohort Dave is off in South Carolina right now, getting ready to go do, I believe, a trade show. So he may be tuning in and trying to plug in here in the next 30 or 40 minutes or so. So tonight's show, an inconvenient truth. I wanted to go over a couple different areas tonight. But one of the first things that I wanted to share with y'all is I guess it's called a tweet from Twitter that was forwarded to me on my Telegram, on one of my Telegram accounts, I should say. And I thought this was really important to share with y'all tonight. It actually comes from a person by the name of Military Motivation. And this person is active duty, current U.S. Marine right now. And I'm going to read to you what this person had to say. And it says, "Good morning. Again, I'm going to post today. I'm USMC 6th Battalion Comms, just back from Afghanistan. So people have issues understanding the clock. I'm a coder. I plead my oath as a Marine and with God by my side. I assure you 100%, no matter what the clock says on any device, the clock hits 0 on September 17th, 2400 hours, aka 12 p.m. midnight Eastern. So that is code. He has given us inside information that when the clock hits 0 hour, September 17th at 2400 hour, which is 12 p.m. Eastern time, something's going to transpire. All right. Stacy Green, thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome for coming and supporting us here at Triple R. Appreciate it. Oh, I already said that. Excuse me. Okay. So it goes on to say, I found it in the coding weeks ago. Take to heart, you and your families should have non-perishable foods, water, cat or dog food, a way to defend yourself for those that can own such items. You'll need 2 to 3 weeks worth. I state this for your benefit. While we do our job, citizens must be kept safe. Or I'm sorry, it says, while we do our job, citizens must be kept safe. That's our job. Do not take this lightly. This is going to be very difficult for a few weeks. Be armed, if possible, in your home in the event of rioting. I'm speaking to you as a fellow American and also a Marine. I cannot detail what is going to transpire. We will make it as swift as possible. This I assure you. Just know all the rank and file armed services are ready to correct it all and keep you all safe. You have time past the 17th to get ready, but not much. October, our country will become insolvent for the second time in history. Did you all hear that? In October, we will become insolvent again for the second time in history. Welcome to Triple R, Ann. I appreciate you praying for us very much, and appreciate you praying for all of our fellow brothers and sisters. This Marine goes on to say, many, many things will change. It will all be what you all have been waiting so long for. No great reset garbage, no new world order, but simply a new America greater than we all have seen. I'm just a soldier doing a job. Biden is not a president. He just occupies a sovereign territory. It's very complex. We're actually going to be covering that a little bit tonight, just for you guys' information. Trust your president, DJT, your real president. Everything is going to be corrected, aka reversed. I leave you with this knowledge as a patriot that has chosen to live free or die. Every day I shield myself with the armor of God. Good day, God bless. Must depart headed from East Coast to West Coast. Things are about to become very, very hot. Be ready for the fallout of October. Semper Fi. All right. So take that for what it's worth, friends. That was forwarded to me by some other friends off of Twitter, and they wanted to share that with me. So tonight, I have a two-part show here. Many of you know that that would be midnight. That's September 17th, 2400 hours, which is 12 p.m., which is 0 hour. Okay, that's 12 p.m. Eastern. All right. So many of you know that I was born and raised in the Mormon church. And I talk about this occasionally, but I'm telling you, I need to address something right here and right now. All right. So please, please bear with me. So over the last month and a half, the leadership of this church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, i.e. the Mormon Church, have come out and strongly supported the gene therapeutics, if you will. They strongly are encouraging the rank and file within their church to receive the gene therapeutics. Okay? They're saying that they received revelation from on high that this is the correct course and action that the rank and file should make. I'm here to tell you that I've uncovered information that I think is newsworthy, at the very least, to the members and those that are no longer members, but actually have family members who are still active members within that church and organization. I do. I have very deep, deep bloodline ties into that church. And this is for you. So I was going to do this video called The Worth of Your Soul, a plea from a brother. But I've been so busy, I've just not been able to get around to this stuff. Okay? So I thought I would add this in here for right now. So like many of those that will end up watching this video, I came from that rich bloodline of pioneer stock in this church, going all the way back to the founding days of the prophet Joseph Smith. It was my great-great-grandfather, Thomas E. Ricks, who found and helped save the Willie and Martin Handcart companies in 1856. Many of you in the church that are familiar with church history are very familiar with that episode or period in the history of the church. And he also helped establish the church in northern Utah and eastern Idaho. My family members are also deeply rooted into the Masonic Brotherhood at the very highest levels. Okay. And so they were at the beck and calling of Brigham Young, who took over the church after the prophet Joseph Smith was assassinated. His brother Hiram was assassinated. No, Viking, my ties, well, some of my family ties are related to Brigham Young, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to share this information with some friends here. Okay. So most people in the LDS church are not aware of their history. They're aware of the narrative that was given to them. And even within the Mormon church, their own history has been rewritten many, many times. That narrative within that history has also been rewritten many, many times. So most don't understand that modern day Mormonism is actually the brainchild of the Jesuit order, not the British East India Company, i.e. the Rothschilds, which I might add was a subordinate to the worshipful company of Mercers and the City of London Corporation, both based in the New Jerusalem of the City of London, sovereign square mile in Britain. Brigham Young was handled by the Jesuit soldier Pierre Jean de Smet. He was the actual head Jesuit priest for North America. This was Brigham Young's handler. All right. They met, and let's see here. Jean Pierre de Smet was the one who gave the Brighamite Church the Union State of Utah. See, most Mormons are unaware. See, the Mormon Church teaches you in the history that the Mormons were led by the inspiration of God to go out west to the place called the Salt Lake City Valley to establish a city there. But there was already a city in there. There were buildings already there. Okay? Those buildings and edifices and structures remained from the Tartarian civilization or dynasty. And there's been much archaeological evidence and research that's online. John Levi is one. You can, Robert Seffer. These are individuals whose videos you can find that actually show the evidence of this. All right. Welcome, Laura. We appreciate you tuning in to Triple R. I'm just doing some kind of brief house cleaning right now, if you will. So please bear with me, y'all. And I will get to the really good nitty-gritty stuff. But what I'm doing is educating members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints about their own history. All right. The fact was, even presented, let's see here. The fact was, even presented on the Curia Generalizia website of the Jesuit order, Pierre Jean de Smet also controlled Albert Pike, the sovereign grand commander of the Scottish Rite, who happened to be a pen pal partner to, i.e. Brigham Young. Let's see, Viking says, Freemasons, go get that Freemasonry guy. Go make it yours. That's right, brother. Let's see here. So Pierre Jean de Smet also controlled Albert Pike, the sovereign grand master of the Scottish Rite, which had its first 25 degrees created by the Jesuits of Claremont College in France, along with the latter 32nd degree being secretly dedicated to the Jesuit order. Why? Hey, glad to see you make it here tonight, BJ. Thank you for tuning in to Triple R. Appreciate it very much. I will be calling you tomorrow to follow up with you guys on X39, just so you know. So I'm going to continue. The Knights Templar history of the Jesuits going into the Kingdom of Aragon, The origins of Francis Borja and Ignatius Loyola. The Jesuits saw themselves as the only surviving Templars since they were the only ones allowed to survive by the Pope himself. All other forms of the Templarism had to be taken over or destroyed, in other words, Freemasonry. One of the biggest targets was the Sinclair Templarism in Scotland, all done through the front of the House of Stuart. By the time the spring of 1847 approached in winter quarters, now we're going back to Mormon history, in the spring of 1847, in a place called Winter Quarters, and I believe that was in Iowa, nearly 400 Mormons' lives had been lost to various causes. Yet there was a vital bit of good news during their stay. The news came from a famous Jesuit, Father Pierre Jean de Smet, passed through Winter Quarters on his way east. The Jesuit was one of the few white men who had ever seen the Great Salt Lake. His information on routes and conditions was extended freely to the Mormons, who eagerly anticipated their next move west. On April 5th, 1847, Brigham Young led the first Mormon wagon on the Mormon side, wagon train out of Winter Quarters bound for Utah. Conditions, timing, and experience and organization were on the Mormon side this time, and the trip went much easier than the previous year's trial. 148 people, three of whom were women, 72 wagons, and a large collection of livestock made up this first group. There are historical records, friends, that show that Brigham Young was at a high level in the Masonic Brotherhood, along with his close friend and business partner, Heber C. Kimball. Both were also associated with a banking family called Kuhn, Loeb and Company out of Ohio. Kuhn, Loeb and Company were the bankers and the American agents for the Rothschilds. This association goes back before Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball joined the Mormon Church under Joseph Smith. There, in the last few years, has been more evidence that Brigham Young, Heber C. Kimball, and others close to the prophet Joseph Smith created a secret order called the Secret Chamber. It's actually in the first part of the Doctrine and Covenants, where the Lord had given Joseph Smith the revelation that an entity by the name of the Secret Chamber would try to take over the church. And that was fulfilled several years later. Look it up. This group had planned and orchestrated the assassination of Joseph Smith and his brothers. Again, this is all about bloodlines. So I started this to let people know, and I'm speaking to members of the church, people who know members of the church, because the leadership of the church is heavily trying to pressure its membership to get the gene therapeutics and the variances of the gene therapeutics. All right? I'm going to reflect upon a scripture from Hosea, however you want to pronounce it. It's Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6, where it says, quote, "My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God." Thank you for adding and contributing to that. I appreciate that, Viking. So the question remains, why are the leaders in this church, or any church for this matter, strongly pressing its membership into taking the gene therapeutics? That's a great question, right? Why are people in these churches being told it's okay to put this into their bodies when our bodies are called the temple of God? There are more doctors and more scientists that are coming out each and every day exposing the truth about these gene therapeutics. So, even the very man who invented a particular gene therapeutic, the mRNA, has told the whole world to not take his invention. Okay? So again, why would the leaders of this church or any other church come out and push these policies that are a direct opposition to God's plan for keeping families safe and together? And it's really interesting because in the LDS Church, the LDS Church's leaders, previous leaders up till 30 25, 30 years ago, prior to that, they were very open about the government and its involvement into our lives and how the government infringes upon our liberties, our sovereignties, and our freedoms. Okay? So, we have to, it just begs the question, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Well, I've come up with some answers, and you're not going to believe this. So I did a little investigating to find out how much money the LDS Church has invested into particular pharmaceutical companies. All right. In November of 2019, a huge investigation and report was leaked to the world that the LDS Church had amassed a $300 billion stockpile of money. All right. For 20 years, they've been utilizing the tithing funds, fast offering funds, and other monies that the people in the congregations in the Mormon Church had given to the church, and the church was taking that money and reinvesting it into all these stock options. And the name of this company is called Ensign Peak Portfolio. That's the portfolio management company that the church owns that oversees this one particular stock portfolio. And mind you, this is only one. But a whistleblower came forth in November 2019. He was one of the managers over this portfolio for the church, and he couldn't stand it anymore. He had a conscience. And he came out and told the world that for 20 years, the church is amassing, taking in roughly between $7 to $9 billion a year in tithing money and turning around and reinvesting that money into stocks and receiving huge, huge dividends off of that stock. And the church was supposed to be contributing at minimum by law, because they're a 501c3 corporation. By law, they were supposed to be contributing at minimum 5% of the annual gains off of that incoming income from tithes and fast offerings. They were supposed to be redistributing 5% at least back to the poor, sick, afflicted, needy, and they weren't doing that. All right, that's the problem. The church just kept amassing this massive war chest of money. Well, this is where I'm going with this. So over the last 3 weeks, I did some investigation, and these are the pharmaceutical companies that Ensign Peak, that is owned by the president, or it's called the Corporation of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Inc. All right, it's a sole corporation. Here are some of the pharmaceutical companies that LDS Inc. is heavily invested in. And you can actually find this on stockzoa.com, and just put in Ensign Peak Advisors, and you'll see the whole listing of the over 1,400 companies that this portfolio is invested in. So here we go. Pfizer Inc., which makes certain gene therapeutic providers. So Pfizer Inc., as of reported March 2021, the church owns 4.2 million shares worth $153 billion. You heard me right, $153 billion. Johnson & Johnson, as of March 2021, the church owned 3.2 million shares worth $524 million. Abbott Labs. Now, this is interesting. How does this particular investment work? Because this is the actual lab who creates the testing kits for this thing that's going on around the world, but they also make therapeutics. We'll just say it at that. But needless to say, Abbott Labs, the church owns 3.5 million shares worth $418 million. They own Merck & Company Pharmaceuticals, 3.5 million shares worth $268 million. Procter & Gamble, 1.8 million shares worth $244 million. Eli Lilly and Company, 1 million shares worth $196 million. Bristol Myers Squibb, 2.7 million shares worth $173 million. Gilead Sciences. Gilead started to experience top-line growth again, mainly thanks to this of a product they created called Remdesivir. Remdesivir. Okay. Holy cow, I think we got David Martelli.
What's
Hello, Dave.
How are you?
Good. How you doing, brother?
A little tired, but doing well, man. Other than that, long trip.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing, man? I hope I didn't interrupt.
No, not at all. Everybody's been missing you, brother. Everybody's missing you.
Man,
I told everybody that you're busy because you guys got a bunch of shows that you're doing. It's that time of year where you're doing trade shows and other events like that. So I told them you guys are on the road traveling to these shows.
it doesn't stop, and I'm a little short-staffed right now, so that makes it even a little bit more difficult for me. But Lord's good; He provides, when we need it. If not, I have to step in and do what I need to do. That's how it is when you have a family business, man. You do what you have to do.
Yes, you do. You do what you got to do.
Yes, sir.
Basically, what I was doing the first half of the show was I was exposing how much money the Mormon church has invested in these pharmaceutical companies, Dave. And it's staggering. It's about close to $300 billion that the church has invested in all these different pharmaceutical companies that are making the what. And I'm addressing, this is the reason why the church is mandating while its congregations get the what, because it's all about the money. Follow the money trail. Isn't that what we're always told?
Well,
follow the money.
Love of money is the root of all evil. So
it is
to me.
Kathy says, "Hey, Dave." Superfood says, "Hey, Dave." Cookie says, "Hey, Dave."
Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm late. And I got it was, you know what? I was thinking I was going to be able to make the whole show because the arrival time was like 8:30. But once we hit the city, it got a little bit busy. And so we got here about 15 minutes ago. And so I just hauled butt up here. And because, of course, it takes a while to check in. But yeah, sorry I'm late.
You're good. No, I told everybody at the beginning of the show that there's a good chance you would be coming in probably, later on in the show. And so we're all prepared for it, brother. It's all good. It's not a big deal.
Well, it's good to see everybody.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you back with us, brother. It's been a little bit.
Thank you.
You betcha. So I read a tweet from a Marine earlier. This was sent to me earlier today. And this Marine is assigned to the 6th Battalion. He's with communications. And he said he just got back from Afghanistan. And he's talking about 0 hour. He said, and you tell me what you think, brother.
Okay.
He said, "I plead my oath as a Marine and with God by my side. I assure you 100%, no matter what the clock says on any device, the clock hits 0 hour on September 17th, 2400 hours, aka 12 p.m. midnight Eastern." He said, "I found it coding weeks ago." And he's telling us, take heart. You and your family should have non-perishable food, water, pet food, a way to defend yourself. For those that can own such items, you'll need 2 to 3 weeks worth. I state this is for your benefit while we do our job. Citizens must be kept safe. That's our job. Do not take this lightly. This is going to be very difficult for a few weeks. Be armed if possible in your home in the event of rioting. I'm speaking to you as a fellow American and also a Marine. I cannot detail what is going to transpire. We will make it as swift as possible. This I assure you. He says, just know all the rank and file armed services are ready to correct it all and keep you all safe. You have time past the 17th to get ready, but not much. He says, quote, October, our country will become insolvent for the second time in history. So we've been seeing in the news, brother, I don't know if you've been watching this, but Janet Yellen, she's the Secretary of Treasury or something like that. She's been out making the news rounds for like the last month saying the United States is going to default in October. We're being prepped, okay? And that's what this gentleman is telling us. many, many things will change, and it will be all what we want. He said, many, many things will change. It will all be what you all have been waiting for so long. No great reset garbage, no new world order, but simply a new America greater than we have all seen. I'm just a soldier doing a job. Biden is not president. He just occupies a sovereign territory. Trust your president, DJT, your real president. Everything is going to be corrected, aka reversed. I leave you with this knowledge as a patriot that has chosen to live free or die. Every day I shield myself with armor of God. God, good day and God bless. What do you think of that?
Well, the first part about protecting your family, I'm all set there. And I would urge anybody, if you absolutely have no place to go and you need some protection, come hit me up. But I'll be ready to go. And I know my family will be protected. I know the good Lord will be with us. I just hope and pray when that time comes that what he's saying is accurate, that it's swift and that the soldiers have our best interest in heart. For me, if I'm an American soldier, I'm not listening to my higher ups if they're telling me to go after my own people. It ain't happening. That's me though. You wonder where the military's heart is at. I would assume it would be at the same place. You?
Oh, absolutely. Well, look what's happening in the last few days. We're seeing many, many of our brave in uniform making videos that they're not getting the, they're not following those orders first and foremost. It's really interesting. I mean, we are on the precipice of possible civil war here, brother. Possibly.
Pardon my French, but the biggest bad butts, bad mamma jammas, the ones with the most heart are the ones that are freedom loving.
That's right.
Patriotic people. So I don't know if it's a civil war. I don't think it's going to last long because these people that they're paying these shills to come out, I can't imagine once somebody takes one in the can, in the rear end once, everybody else is going to sit there and fight. Especially what are they fighting for? I mean, what is the left fighting for?
That's right. So Craig Kowalski, thank you for tuning into Triple R, Craig. He asks, what's the latest on the Chi-Coms at Grayling? Well, I'm not sure what the latest is on that after I reported that last week, but what I can tell you is I've listened to several other tier 1 influencers. Let's see here. Who's the gal that does Project Camelot? She confirmed that this has been going on, that there's been training going on at Camp Grayling with the Chi-Coms as well. So there are other tier 1 influencers that are actually confirming through their different intel that this is going on. Okay. So what I wanted to get into tonight is a little bit of truth about 9/11. This might, now Viking may understand this because I know a little bit about Viking and his history and his associations with certain organizations. Okay. And that is a story for another time that only he has the right to talk about. But I'm going to tell you, there are these dragon families from Asia. All right. Have you heard about these dragon families, brother?
Yes, sir. I have.
So they control much of the world's wealth, right? There's one dragon family in particular called the Yamashita dragon family. They're out of Japan. Well, that dragon family is in control of the gold over Asia. And it says that family had loaned George Bush Sr., Daddy Bush, in the early 1990s a lot of gold for various government projects. Then there were bonds issued to that dragon family. So George Bush, the president of the Corporation of the United States of America, issued bonds guaranteeing that all that money of gold that was given to us for whatever reason would be repaid, in perpetuity, I'm sure. All right. So those bonds were issued to the dragon family, the Yamashitas, in exchange for their gold. Those bonds were due to be paid back on September 12th, 2001.
21?
2001, the day after September 11th, 2001, brother. So we're talking, this was called the Black Eagle Trust Fund. This is called the Black Eagle Trust Fund, all right? So on that fateful day, the Security and Exchange Commission declared a national emergency, and for the first time in U.S. history, invoked its emergency powers under the Security Exchange Act, Section 12K, easing regulatory restrictions for clearing and settling security trades for the next 15 days. These changes would allow an estimated $240 billion in covert government securities to be cleared upon maturity without the standard regulatory controls around the identification of the ownership. Really, let's see, Lynn McKinley. It appears now from independent researchers that Brigham Young was actually funded by the Rothschilds' money to come west to abandon uninhabited city discovered by the Jesuits. You are correct, Lynn. 100% spot on. Thank you for contributing, and thank you for coming to Triple R. We appreciate it. Viking also says the world is cut up into different sections. Each section is run by a separate dragon family, but all of those families share an original source. He's right. They're actually part, if I remember right, Viking, they're part of the Black Sun. You can correct me if I'm right or wrong, all right? So there was $240 billion in securities in the buildings, World Trade 1 and World Trade 2, all right? That $240 billion was being kept in the vaults of the brokers, in the brokerage firms of both World Trade Center 1 and 2. They were destroyed on September 11th. So many of the explosions, the detonations that we would see come out of the buildings, those were coming out of the brokerage firms that housed the vaults that housed that money. All right.
You think it was removed? It was probably removed beforehand. Had to have been.
One would only think, but it gets interesting. So the securities were being kept in those vaults, and the federal agencies that were investigating those bonds through the Office of Naval Intelligence was in the section of the Pentagon that was destroyed by the missile that had hit that building on September 11th. So the very offices of Naval Intelligence that was investigating this whole transaction was taken out by that missile that hit that part of the Pentagon, brother. That's why they took out that particular section itself. It was a coordinated strike. So let's see here. And it goes on to say the securities were being kept in those vaults, and the federal, oh, I'm sorry, we already covered that. So the Yamashita gold would become the cornerstone of the Black Eagle Fund, from which many covert operations of the U.S. intelligences would be funded. So what you're saying is more than likely true. I bet what happened was that money probably wasn't actually in World Trade Center 1 and 2. They probably moved it to Building 7, because we're all told that Building 7 housed a lot of gold in Building 7. And they had to take that building down and make it look like everything was a loss there. But that gold was moved. I can tell you that. What do you think?
Even if it wasn't, man, let's just say it wasn't. If that building goes down with the missile and heat, all it does is melt.
That's
just
right.
Refine it again.
That's
but yeah,
right.
Moved.
That's a little tidbit that I had uncovered. I thought, holy cow, that's just more connections, you know, that's happening here. Trying to solve, why did they do this? All right, why did they take these buildings down? You know, because the narrative that we've been told for 21 years, there's nothing remotely close to it. It didn't happen that way. It's a much, much bigger, sinister design. So this is interesting. So somebody sent this to me. It's called 9/11 Connecting the Dots. Understand the scale of this great awakening. So quantum grammar on the Title IV flag is where it started. The real meaning of Q, the quantum grammar on the Title IV flag. The Title IV flag and maritime law are very important in understanding real American history. This is what is happening right now. So this fight that we're in right now, there are a lot of people out there. Let's see. Well, let me answer some people here, brother. I got some great comments. I'm telling you what, Our viewers have some great comments. The Vatican, through aggressive Jesuit exploration and collection of ancient histories, artifacts, and maps in North and South America, would likely have had maps of the abandoned cities of the West. So what Lynn is talking about, Lynn is huge into historical archaeology, okay? Lynn is talking about how these pioneers went out west in the middle of the 1800s. And the narrative that we're told was they went out to this great frontier and there were no cities there. They established these great cities over the next 20 or 30 years, these major metropolis areas. San Francisco wasn't even a thought, but it was actually Mormons who discovered San Francisco right before the gold rush took place. But when they came to San Francisco, that area, Dave, there were a lot of buildings, a lot of great, magnificent buildings that were already there. Wow. Just like in Salt Lake City, there was great buildings already in Salt Lake City that had already been erected and been there for quite a while. All right. What we're finding out is it's quite possibly that the Tartarians, that is remnant of the Tartarian civilization, are these edifices that scattered throughout North America and all over Europe and Asia Minor, Asia Upper. There's these massive, beautiful buildings that we can't even replicate or duplicate today, even with our technology.
Yeah. So I always thought the giants had something to do with putting those things together, because the giants...
Well, the Tartarians were giants.
Oh, okay. That makes sense then.
Yeah, that's why they had such high entranceways and stuff like that in these buildings, was because of that.
That makes perfect sense to me. Perfect sense.
Viking says, duality is dark and light, yin and yang, matter and antimatter, but all just describe how all that exists is light from source interacting to create everything. The seen and the unseen, all is light. I'll tell you what, as I said, our viewers are really smart viewers, brother. I mean, they contribute and they have some amazing contributions that they give to this show. I'll tell you what, I love it.
Well, I find the people that watch these type of shows are very intellectual people, and they love to do due diligence, and they love to study on certain topics. And you'll find more times than not, people on these shows will surprise you with some of their thought processes, and oftentimes you'll find out they run side by side with your thought process. At least that's what I've come to find.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of these brothers and sisters that I've contacted, that I've been sending X39 samples to, when I call them and I get into really great conversations with them, holy cow. I've met this one couple that have been doing this for 40 years. They've left religion 40 years ago because they finally discovered that there were things about religion that was controlling them. And they were like the Watchers, all this forbidden history that we're talking about. And they would ask, their leaders of their churches, why aren't we talking about this? Why aren't we studying about this? And they're like, oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. No way. That's taboo.
Yeah.
So you're right. I'll tell you what, I have thoroughly enjoyed contacting these great people and having great conversations with them, because it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
I tell you, I hope I'm not overwhelming you. And by the way, Superfoods, you're doing a fantastic job. She sent me a list today. But I've got people keep, wanting that X30. I told you once I talked about it, man, that'd be all she wrote. And
well, bring them on, because you know what? The website, I'm hoping our website will be done by this week for Patches for Heroes. And then I'll start putting in the different marketing components to launch that website as well. We've got our Telegram channel at Patches for Heroes at Telegram. We launched that last night. There's a lot of content there at that channel. And I'll tell you, I was at an event this weekend in St. Louis. It was a big event. They have hundreds of thousands of people there that come. It's a 3-day event called Vintage Market Days. And it was my sweetheart's birthday on 9/11, Dave. And so I took her there, and we found a really nice purse that she wanted. And I was happened to talk to a gentleman there that was selling rings that he acquires through estate sales. Well, this guy was actually a police chief from St. Louis, or the St. Louis area. And I asked him if he had pain, inflammation. He's like, oh my gosh, all the time. So I showed him the patch, my X39 patch on me, and I told him all about the technology. He was blown away. he is asking me, send me information on this. I would like to share this with my patrolmen and see what we can do. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's just, this is going gangbusters. BJ Griffin says, we love talking to ML. Well, we love talking to you too, BJ. She's another one of our people. Dave, I sent her and her husband. Her husband's a Marine, retired Marine, disabled, I believe. And I sent him 5 days worth of X39 patches. But if I know BJ, she'd probably let him have all 10 of them herself, because that's what our wives do for us, right?
Yeah.
And she contacted me Friday night and said, we're out of patches and he's needing them because he's got high anxiety, stress, PTSD, and stuff like that. So I'm going to hook her up tomorrow. We're going to get them set up as well.
Those people, that Mr. and Mrs. Signoni that I sent you, they like, holy cow, they were like me. They've tried everything. So when I first told them, I think they didn't tell me this, but I think they were thinking, I've tried it all. I've done it all. And as you know, they contacted you like that. I need more. So these things work. I told you I would have never, ever, never endorsed this thing unless I tried it myself. There's no way. There's too many people that follow me and they trust every single thing that I say. So I have to be very careful. But I'm very confident in being able to share the X39 just because of what it's done for me.
Well, there's another tier 1 influencer. His name's Prime Minister. This guy's out there. He talks with Scott McKay and all the tier 1 influencers that have hundreds of thousands of followers. I didn't know this until last week. He's a LifeWave distributor himself. All right. He's got a big following. He's got a lot of people that are trying these patches and are having great, great successes too. So it's not a fly-by-night thing. This is sustainable technology. This is, what the buzzword that's going around is quantum technology, quantum this and quantum that, right? This is actually bona fide quantum healing technology because it is utilizing light. There's that word again, light, for healing. It's absolutely amazing. And of course, the company has other patches that focus on other areas of healing and repair as well. But I'm telling you, there's something that's coming in the next 2 months. It's, the X39 is taking the world by storm. Well, what's coming in the next 2 to 3 months in November? It's gonna shadow, or it's gonna eclipse that. That's the best way I can say it. It's gonna eclipse that because it's going to have the ability to reset the aging gene in us that makes us get these age-related illnesses and diseases because we all have them. We all inherit these things from, our bloodline, right? So we inherit these things. This is going to help prevent that from happening and stop it from happening. And in some cases, it will help reverse that, brother.
That's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing. Hey, ML, while I'm thinking about it, don't mind, I wanted to mention tomorrow. So the reason why I'm in South Carolina, you still haven't met my dad yet. Amazing, my dad or my mom. Amazing people. Hopefully you're coming down next week if you can, depending on.
I'm planning. Yep. Well, I'm hoping, providing all hell doesn't break loose.
Yeah. By the way, if you pay to stay somewhere, I'll be highly upset. My door's always open to you.
I was already planning on that, brother.
Good. A lot of people don't like to do that. Like, well, I just don't want to intrude. I'm like, you're not intruding. My parents' house got like 10 bedrooms in it, and every bedroom has a bathroom. So there's plenty of. But anyways, so we're up here at Club 36 in South Carolina. And anybody that wants to know a little bit about my dad, he's giving his testimony on there tomorrow. And if you are on YouTube, let me see if I can remember here. If you want to go to YouTube, it's on Watchman Broadcasting. If you want to write that down, and if you go to Facebook, it's WBPI TV 49. WBPI TV 49. That's Facebook, and then YouTube is Watchman Broadcasting. So just anybody wanted to get to know my family and who we are. We're talking about obviously the show Being Martelli on PureFlix, but he's given his testimony, and I wanted you really to watch it, ML. Guys, wait till you hear his testimony about Vietnam and getting saved and all that.
What time is that?
10:30 Eastern time. I'm not sure. It's either 10:30 or 11. It might even be 10 Eastern time.
Okay.
It's either 10:30 or 11. Sorry, I don't know, man. I don't have my paperwork. My paperwork's in my bag somewhere. I'll put up. I try to rush to get in here so I can make the show.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to leave you hanging. I'm like, just this like second show in a row. I'm like, I got to get on the show.
You're good. You're good.
I told you, man. I seriously thought I told you. I was like, oh man.
No.
I'm always.
It's all good.
Something up, man. Always.
It's all good. I want to give a couple shout outs because some more people just logged on. We got Amy Harrington. Thank you. Welcome back, Amy Harrington, to Triple R. Martha Fedek, welcome to Triple R as well. Let's see here. And those are just two new ladies that just jumped on watching the show itself. So getting back to the Title IV flag. The Title IV flag was captured, all right? It's called the Act of England of 1871 and the Balfour Declaration of 1917. The United States for America is different from the United States of America. All right. USA Inc., United States, is a corporation that was formed in Delaware in 1871. I'm enjoying watching some of these comments that Vikings throwing out there.
I heard, who is it? Who's that one popular lady? She's always on there with Charlie Ward, I think. What's her name?
Mel K.
Mel K. I heard her. I was listening on the way up. My dad was snoring. So I'm driving and I'm like, oh, I'm listening to something. So I heard Mel K talking about that very thing of and for, how they slipped that name, which I knew that. But my dad, he wakes up. Well, he was awake for that part. And he goes, well, when did that happen? I'm like, Dad, I've told you 9,000 times. Like that. He's like, oh, it's like.
Well, he'll be able to rewatch this because this is where we're going. So Rome once ruled the world. Caesar once ruled from the hill. Caesar ruled from the hill. Well, Washington, D.C. is what? On a hill. It's built on a hill, Capitol Hill. That's the new Rome, as Washington, D.C. is that new Roman Empire. Take a look at a picture of St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican Square. It looks just like our Capitol building in Washington, D.C. There's also an Egyptian obelisk in front of it, just like the Washington Monument in D.C. So when you set up a corporation, you must have three things. All right. You usually have a president, a vice president, and a secretary or a secretary or treasurer. That's generally the nucleus of a corporation. I've set up many corporations. So that's just the infrastructure of a corporation. So just like we have in the United States, the U.S. is a corporation, a privately owned company, and has nothing to do with the United States of America. The United States for America, the Republic, was founded in 1776. And the United States of America, the corporation, was formed in 1871. Ulysses S. Grant was the president of the United States of 1871 when the corporation was formed. Isn't it funny how his two initials are U.S.? Ulysses Grant, U.S. Isn't that interesting? So here's another thing that people didn't know. So he had to make this decision because we were deeply, deeply in debt after the Civil War in the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars, right? The North, this was the reason why they killed off Abraham Lincoln, was because the Rothschilds and the Jesuits, because he warned us. Abraham Lincoln warned us that the Jesuits and Rothschilds would take over this country and try and kill us off, basically. And so he didn't take out money. The South was completely funded by the Bank of England, i.e. the Rothschilds and the Jesuits. They were in complete control of the South. Abraham Lincoln wouldn't do it, so he created the greenbacks. We funded our own war through the Treasury Department. That's where we get the term greenbacks from.
That's why I was
yeah, go ahead, brother.
No, I was going to say, that's why they killed him.
That's right. That's exactly right. So because we were in such debt and we had no way of paying it back to the bankers, they came up with the solution. Well, how about we just incorporate the United States? We'll change the Constitution by one word and it becomes a corporation from that point. And then, they basically own us.
Yeah, and then let's even make a bank that makes it sound like it's federal, even though it's not federal. So everybody will think when they're paying taxes, it's really going to the country, but it's not really. It's just going into a few wealthy scoffers.
That's exactly right. So a U.S. citizen is an actual employee of the United States corporation, which is a business. The word citizen means employee, according to the laws of the United States corporation. Washington, D.C. is a foreign corporation, and it is not a state. It's not part of actually America and has nothing to do with the 50 states at all. It was where the foreign U.S. corporation is headquartered with its own laws. So now we get back to the two U.S. constitutions. So reversing the Act of 1871, assault on our sovereignty happened in 1871. You just don't know. That's when this whole matrix we started living in. This whole matrix started in 1871. All right. This is a heavy matter because this created assaults on our sovereignty, and it destabilized us. The assaults on sovereignty impoverished us, and the assaults on our sovereignty enslaved us. That Constitution is what made us free. But because we became an incorporation, and that Constitution became insolvent itself. Viking says, the Rothschilds, the Fed, the entire banking family system are not as high as you think. They are all just worker ants. He's right. This is what I said Friday night, friends. There are societies, the Illuminati, which comprises of these 13 bloodline families, the bankers, they're down here on the totem pole. There are higher, way higher.
Yeah. Aren't they out of the Middle East too, most of them?
Some of them.
Like the big, like a lot of the Saudis.
The House of Saud.
Yeah, House of Saud. Yeah, I know this.
Well, the House of Saud is actually, if I remember right, is one of the dragon families. Okay, so I kind of hinted on this Friday night, brother. So we all hear about the Illuminati. That's all we've heard about for decades now is the Illuminati this, Illuminati that. But there's actually another warring faction called the Black Sun. And the Black Sun's been around just as long. It's been around longer than the Illuminati. It goes all the way back to Solomon and the Babylonian days, just so you know. It goes that much farther back. All right. And they've been at war with each other all of these millenniums itself. And they've been trying to off each other and overdo and overpower each other itself. I mean, the end result is the end result. World dominance, control of humanity. That's both of the objectives. But one is a little bit more slicker about how they go about doing their business per se than the other one is. So the 13 bloodline families, which are part of the Illuminati, had a covenant. It's called the covenant with King Solomon covenant. And it was a 2,000-year covenant. And that covenant ended 2 years ago. What that meant was these families were able to control all the wealth of the planet, the infrastructure of the planet. They were able to do all they want and not really be touched per se because of this covenant. They had protection from demons. All right. This is going back to the fallen angels, their offspring, the Nephilim, the disembodied, the demonic realm. They were the ones that are guiding the 13 bloodline families. That's who runs them, right? So what happened was a couple of years ago, this covenant ended. That means these bloodline families can now be gone after and taken out. And this is what has been happening over the last couple of years. We keep hearing Gene Decode and other people like that talking about all of these dumbs being cleared out all over the world per se, and they're finding these world fortresses underneath the world that are even bigger than these deep underground military bunkers. There's actual civilizations, whole cities. All right, and they've been clearing these out. Well, I know for a fact over the last year to year and a half, there were episodes where ruling families were getting together, Dave, and they were making their plans of what they wanted to do and stuff like that. And there were actually operations that were conducted that took out a lot of the heads of these ruling families that were all together at certain key locations throughout Europe and stuff like that. They were systematically being taken out. But the problem is when you take off the head of that particular snake, another head grows back, and there's another one that takes that place and that place and that place. They're very well insulated.
Power vacuum. It's
That's
always
right.
Somebody.
That's right. That's exactly right. So the two this was an interesting quote from Secretary Mike Pompeo. He says, the assaults on sovereignty are indeed assaults on the very freedom that anchors the Western ideal. So 2 constitutions in the United States. The first was suspended in favor of the Vatican Corporation in 1871. Since 1871, the United States president and the United States Congress has been playing politics under a different set of rules and policies. Many of the American people do not even know that there are 2 constitutions in the United States. The one that you go to Washington that's on display, that's not even the real one. That's the 1871 version.
Supposedly, I don't even know how he knows this, but Charlie Ward he did a video with the proper constitution, but how would he know?
Yeah. Well, you know how I feel about Charlie Ward, Simon Parks, and some of those characters over there, brother.
From here, how does he know what's going on?
Well, because he has connections. He's got connections.
Yeah, so did heard that from everybody.
I know. So the first constitution was penned by our leaders of a newly independent states of the United States in 1776 on July 4th. The people claimed their independence from Britain, and we became a republic. We didn't become a democracy. This drives me nuts. When people say, oh, we became a democracy, we were a representative republic. We've always been a representative republic, not a democracy. What say you, brother?
I'm right there with you.
Okay. I know you're tired. You're tired. So
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. So after 95 years, the United States people were free and independent. Then that freedom ended in 1871 when the original Constitution for the United States of America, for America, was changed to the Constitution of the United States of America. Just that one change, for and of, changed everything. Everything. Let's see here. So then Congress realized that the country was in dire financial straits, so they made a financial deal with the devil, international bankers, thereby incurring a debt to said bankers. The conniving international bankers were not about to lend the floundering nation any money without some serious stipulations. So they devised a way of taking back control of the United States. Thus, it's the Act of 1871 was passed. So Abraham Lincoln did a good job not getting in bed, so to speak, with the bankers. But Ulysses Grant jumped right in bed with them because they're the ones that put him in power as president. Because remember, presidents at that point were selected. They're not elected. That's history that people are not familiar with because we're not taught that in our schools, brother. We're taught a completely different narrative itself. So with the passage of the Act of 1871, a city-state, that's a state within a state, called the District of Columbia, located on 10 square miles of land in the heart of Washington, was formed with its own flag and its own independent constitution, the United States Secret Second Constitution. The flag of Washington's District of Columbia has 3 red stars, each symbolizing a city-state within 3-city empire. The 3-city empire consists of Washington, D.C., London City, and Vatican City. London is the corporate center of the 3 city-states and controls the world economy. Washington's District of Columbia city-state is in charge of the world's military, and the Vatican controls all under the guise of spiritual guidance. Although geographically separate, the city-states of London, the Vatican, and the District of Columbia are all interlocking empire called the Empire of the City. Do you need to go, brother?
No, sir. I'm good.
Are you sure? I don't want to keep you up, and it's okay because I'm going to be going a little bit here.
I was just checking time. No, we're good.
Okay. All right. So the Constitution for the District of Columbia operates under a tyrannical Vatican law known as Lex Foret. which means local law. All right. When Congress passed the Act of 1871, it created a separate corporation known as the United States and a corporate government for the District of Columbia. This treasonous act has unlawfully allowed the District of Columbia to operate as a corporation outside the original Constitution of the United States and in total disregard of the best interest of the American citizens. So POTUS is the chief executive, the president of the corporation of the United States, operating as any other CEO of the corporation, who has a governing board of directors. That's his cabinet officials, okay? And then his managers are your senators and your congressmen. Those are the ones that manage the money, right? Just like in any, I'm sure you guys, your business is set up with corporations. You have corporate officers, and you guys have checks and balances in place, right?
Not good ones.
That was good. That was good. Oh, man. So POTUS is operating as a vassal king, taking orders once again from the City of London through the Royal Institutes of International Affairs. The Illuminati, founded by the Society of Jesus or the Jesuits, the largest Roman Catholic religious military order headed by the Black Pope, created the Royal Institutes of International Affairs in 1919. The American equivalent of the Royal Institute of International Affairs is the Council of Foreign Relations, the CFR. Both are set up as a roundtable group based off of King Arthur's myths.
Did not know that.
Yep. So what did the Act of 1871 actually achieve? Well, the Act of 1871 put the United States back under British rule, which is actually under the Vatican rule. The United States people lost their independence completely in 1871. But after the 45th transition, the people are in charge again for the first time since 1871. You understand what I meant by the 45th transition? Okay. Yeah. So the founding fathers named our country the United States. The banks in London and the Vatican made a deal with the former U.S. President Grant and named their corporation the United States of America. Legally, the United States does not have a president. The military is responsible for the transition. There you go again. The military is responsible for the transition. They have yet to begin the process. The current resident, I'll put it that way, and his handlers, the Luciferian banksters in London and the Vatican, are not in charge of anything. Congress is also not legitimate. They're illegitimate. So we wonder why. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
No, they got to go. All them people, man. Now it makes a lot more sense about the downsizing of the government, because they were never meant to exist in the first place.
That's right. That's right. They were supposed to be limited. The founding fathers wanted term limits. But it wasn't until 1871 where I think we're going to make a career out of this stuff,
Those, as my grandfather would say before he died, those dirty buggers.
So all European royal families have Kazarian origins. Most people aren't even aware of this hidden story of the reptilians in human form, the Kazarians. All right. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I know the dummy and supposedly in office now, I saw a video with the reptilian eyes. So he must be part of the Khazar. Is he just posing as a Catholic?
Yep. Quite possibly. Well, what about the Queen? I've seen lots of videos. And I mean, the Queen that just passed away, I guess, right? We don't know if she's dead or alive. We're being told she's dead. But I've seen lots of videos of her eyes doing the weird, funky things. They have the reptilian-looking eyes, as well as her husband and her sons and stuff like that too. So it's out there. If you want to find it, it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So between 100 and 800 AD, the Khazarians developed into a nation ruled by an evil king who actually had ancient Babylonian black arts, occult oligarchs serving as his court. During this time, Khazarians became known to surrounding countries as thieves, murderers, road bandits, and for assuming the identities of those travelers they murdered as a normal occupational practice and a way of life. Then we get to 800 AD, and an ultimate an ultimatum was delivered by the king of Russia and other surrounding nations. So the leaders of the surrounding nations around Khazaria or something like that, especially Russia, they had so many years of complaints by their citizens that as a group, they delivered an ultimatum to the Kazarian king. They actually sent the notice to the Kazarian king that he must choose one of the 3 Abrahamic religions for his people and make it his official state religion, and require all Kazarian citizens to practice it and socialize all Kazarian children to practice that faith. So the Kazarian king was given a choice between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Well, we all know which one he chose, right? So it's no question there. The Kazarian king chose Judaism and promised to stay within the requirements laid out by the surrounding confederacy of nations led by the Russian Tsar. Despite his agreement and promise, the Kazarian king and his inner circle of oligarchs kept practicing ancient Babylonian black magic, also known as secret Satanism. The secret Satanism involved occult ceremonies featuring child sacrifice, which is what we've seen happen today.
Kabbalah.
That's right, Kabbalah, exactly. The drinking of their blood and eating of their hearts. The deep, dark secret of the occult ceremonies was that they were all based on ancient Baal worship, also known as the worship of the owl. In order to fool the confederacy of the nations led by Russia that were watching Khazaria, the Kazarian king melded these Luciferian black magic practices with Judaism and then created a secret satanic hybrid religion known as Babylonian Talmudism.
Yep.
That's their scriptures, is the Talmud, right? It's interesting. I think a month ago I saw George Bush Jr. having a set of the Talmuds in his hand as he was walking into a meeting with somebody.
I'm sure
they
call us cattle. If you're not part of their family, we're just nothing but cattle to be on, to be eating and drinking the blood.
That's right.
Wear the little red bracelet.
Yep, that's exactly right. And their little red shoes.
Yeah, little red shoes, the bracelets. I'll love to punch a couple of them guys slap out.
Big time, big time. So sadly, the Khazarians, they continued their evil ways, robbing and murdering those from surrounding countries who traveled through Khazaria. Khazarian robbers often attempted to assume their identities after they murdered these visitors and become masters of disguises and false identities. Wow, imagine that. A practice they have continued even to this very day, along with their child sacrifice occult ceremonies, which are actually ancient Baal worship. So around 1200 AD, Dave, Russia and the surrounding nations had enough. They were done. So they took action. So the Russians led a group of nations surrounding Khazaria and invaded it in order to stop the Khazarian crimes against their people, which included kidnapping of their young children and infants for their blood sacrifice ceremonies to Baal. The Kazarian king and his inner court of criminals and murderers came to be known as the Kazarian mafia by neighboring countries. The Kazarian leaders had a well-developed spy network through which they had obtained prior warning and escaped from Khazaria to European nations to the west, taking their vast fortune with them in gold and silver. They laid low and regrouped, which assuming new identities. In secret, they continued their satanic child blood and sacrifice rituals and trusted Baal to give them the whole world and all its riches, as they claimed he had promised them, as long as they kept bleeding out and sacrificing children and infants for them. The Kazarian king and his court mafia plotted eternal revenge against the Russians and the surrounding nations that invaded Khazaria and drove them from power. They made good on that. Are you familiar with the Bolshevik Revolution?
The term, yes. Actually, what happened, no.
Okay, so the Rothschilds funded a group of communism. Communism was actually started by the Jews, the Kazarian Jews, all right? Not from the House of Judah, but what we talked about. They hijacked the House of Judah to make everybody think they were actual Jews. So Jews created the theory and concept of communism. They funded this group of people. Lenin, Marx went in. They took out Tsar Nicholas II, who was the king of Russia in the early 1900s. They took him out and his entire family. They murdered them all because it was his bloodline. They wanted to make good on what the Tsar Nicholas's bloodline had did to their family so many centuries prior to that. So they were fulfilling, that covenant to them. Let's see here. I'm just looking at some of these comments here. Wow. It's pretty amazing.
Them later because it turns my camera off.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. So the Kazarian mafia invaded England after being expelled for hundreds of years. So to accomplish their invasion, they hired Oliver Cromwell to murder King Charles I, make England safe for banking again. This began the English Civil Wars with rage for nearly a decade, resulting in regicide of the royal family and hundreds of the genuine English nobility. This is how the city of London was set up as the banking capital of Europe and launched the beginning of the British Empire. So the city of London, Vatican, and DC are all not part of the countries they're in. They're independent land owned by the Rothschilds and globalist cartel. But they're actually owned by people higher above them, too. All right. Sometime we will, let's see here. Viking says, I'm going to read you what he's saying here, brother. Viking says, black sun, white sun, all just forms of light. Yin yang, one end of spectrum through to another. A lot of the stuff that he throws out there, a lot of people, it's going to go over the heads a little bit, but he's throwing really amazing truth bombs that are out there in little bits because he really understands. He has a background in the intelligence community, deep ties in the intelligence community. So he understands that if we were to just throw everything out there, these people would be so overwhelmed right now, they would shut down because that's what you and I would do. Dude, what happened? Down. What's that?
I said, I'm half shut down now. I'm like, la, I can't take anymore, man.
Let's get it on. Let's get it on.
Exactly. Let's just get it on and be done with it, man. But just thinking about it, and we're just like, yeah, mamma mia.
There's that Italian going out. Oh, let's see here. So we're talking about symbolism. Symbolism is going to be the downfall of these people, and it already is, right?
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
So these three, we're talking about the City of London, Vatican, and DC. They have obelisk, and they all have obelisk. That's what they have in common, which also shows that they all have connected by the Masonic Brotherhood, which prays directly to the Prince of Darkness himself, who they call Lucifer. You go through the Masonic Brotherhood and you go all the way through all these levels till you get to the 33rd degree. Then you find out who your God really is that you make an open covenant to, and it's Lucifer. Yeah, and by then you're screwed. That's it. You're knee deep in.
Well, the Bible tells you don't do secret oaths. So you shouldn't even get to stage one. Whatever stage one is, you shouldn't even get there.
That's exactly right. But he's also known, so they use the letter G in the Masonic Brotherhood. It symbolizes, G is everywhere, right? And of course, people say, well, that stands for God. That stands for the designer of the universe, the great architect of the universe. That's what they tell the lower level guys.
Lucifer's God. It's Elohim. He's Elohim.
Right. Well, he also goes by another name, Gadriel. Gadriel is another name for Lucifer that's known in the higher rankings of the Masonic Brotherhood, okay? They actually consider, this is what they teach in the Masonic Brotherhood. They teach that Christ Messiah was the bad guy, and they're deluded Satanists, all right? So it's really interesting that these obelisks are phallic symbols in appearance, and they represent the male
Osiris's genitals.
That's right. That's right. It's actually symbolic of the Egyptian sun god Ra, and is an ancient symbol of male energy and generation. Go ahead.
But I want to mention this. So at the Tower of Babel, when God confounded the languages and confused the languages, Nimrod became known as 100, 200 different names. Osiris, Ra, Baal. It's all the same person. Its name changed when the languages got confounded at the Tower of Babel, I believe in the latter part of Genesis. So that's why Osiris has so many different names. That's why nobody can put two and two together when they have all these gods. The main god is all the same one, many different names.
Confusion. It's all about confusion, keeping people in a state of confusion.
Babel means confusion, I think. I'm pretty sure you have to fact check me on that, but I think that's what that means.
That's exactly what it means, brother. You betcha. So the City of London obelisk, aka Cleopatra's Needle, located on the banks of the River Thames, this obelisk was transported to London and erected in 1878 under the reign of Queen Victoria. The obelisk originally stood in the Egyptian city of On, or Heliopolis, the city of the sun. The Knights Templar land extended to this area of the Thames River, where the Templars had their own docks. Either side of the obelisk is surrounded by a sphinx, more symbolism dating back to the ancient world. The Vatican City obelisk, located in St. Peter's Square, was moved from Egypt to its current location in 1586. The circle on the ground represents the female vagina, while the obelisk itself is the penis. This is commonly known as the occult mysticism. The Washington, D.C. obelisk, aka the Washington Monument. How tall is the Washington Monument, Dave?
I want to say it's either 6,666 inches. I know it's the number of man, but I don't remember exactly.
666 feet tall.
666 feet tall. I'm sorry.
It's 666 inches wide.
That's what it was. Okay. I knew there was an inches there somewhere.
You bet. And then the Washington Monument is the tallest obelisk in the world, and it's also the tallest standing structure in Washington, D.C. The monument's cornerstone, a 12-ton slab of marble, was donated by the Grand Lodge of Freemasons. The Washington Monument is an upscale replica of Nebuchadnezzar's obelisk, which stood 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide. The occult symbol, full of dark esoteric meaning, has overshadowed our nation's highest offices of leadership since 1888, when it was completed. Construction began in 1848.
Well, I'll tell you this: we must have a bunch of individuals in this country that truly loves the Lord Jesus Christ, because He's putting up with an awful lot. But a lot of times we don't have control over what's going on. We can pray, but it's saddening, man. I wouldn't. Who wants to live in a country where everything that's erected or everything that's made has to do with God, to someone that believes in killing your kids and drinking the blood and eating the flesh? I mean, it's just.
Well, think about this. The Lord showed me this last week, because I was really thinking, Father, how are we going to take out the plan? We keep hearing about the plan. How is the plan going to be executed against the cabal, the deep state, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them? How is the plan going to take out this network of people, when in fact the generals that are guiding this network are from the demonic realm? They know everything. They can travel interdimensionally. They know no time. They can see things in advance, years in advance. That's why they can make these plans and know the outcome after outcome after outcome. So how in God's green earth, brother, is our military, the white hats, the good guys, going to be able to combat literally the armies of Satan, the demonic generals, principalities, dominions that are governing the other side? And they know everything. They have every countermeasure in place that we've got to measure to over and over. This is what we're always being told. We've got to measure in place. We've got a plan. We're going to execute it. We're going to do this, 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 and this. And then it gets stopped because we uncover, well, they have a counter plan, a counter contingency plan to our plan. So now we got to stop and we got to reset the timeline again, over and over and over again. How many times do you think we're going to be resetting this timeline over?
I don't know, but I've already heard about 50 of them in the last 3 months. Some of them I'm sure are the same, but number one, you got to pull the money out from underneath them so their soldiers can't. But even then, like you said, if they can see well into the future.
Well, think about this. What if there was one demon per every human on the planet Earth?
I'm sure there's more than that.
There is. There absolutely is. So we're contingency. Like I said in one of our first shows, I said the 500 million people on the Georgia Guidestones that were being told that they wanted to have manageable control over humanity. If we only had one demon per 500 million souls on earth that they wanted to allow to live, that's still a huge army of demons to contend with.
Oh, yeah.
But it's in the billions. It's in the billions. It's in the billions. And people don't understand that this war that we're battled in, we're the plan. It is spiritual warfare like no other. It is.
No doubt.
And the armor of God, the scriptures tell us we need the armor of God, and it tells us all the different components of the armor of God, right, brother?
Shield of faith. Yep.
Right. But we have to learn how to acquire each and every one of those pieces of armament and how to utilize that by acquiring spiritual gifts to be able to fight the other side. But our numbers are so small compared to the other side that they've been at this for millennia. They've been at this for millenniums. And we're just Johnny come lately to the party in the last couple hundred years and last few decades, actually. We've got a lot of catching up to do, brother. So, when you think about it's the generals and the principalities of the demonic realm that are governing and directing the military operations of the other side, it's really, really a daunting thought of how the heck are we going to accomplish this and save humanity?
We have to leave that in the Lord's hands, I guess. I mean, there's nothing we're going to do about it.
But that's it. God is there. He's given us the plan. He's given us the strategy of how to do it. We have to learn how to exercise the ability to draw upon the powers of heaven and call upon angels that are at our beck and call to do our battle, to do our fighting with. I have exercised spiritual warfare for years in our home, and I have called upon angels, sentinels of angels, who have stand steadfast and have protected our property from tornadoes, where we've had miracles taking place from tornadoes and other events that have happened over the few years since I've been here. My boys have been able to witness us calling upon angels and seeing that protection firsthand over and over and over again. So it can be done. We can tap into the heavenly realm and tap into the armies of the heavenly realm.
Yeah, even then, who was it? Was it Jacob? That was, he called out for God, and I forgot what angel it was. And man, I'm super tired, so hopefully I'm saying this right. Remember, when Jacob called out, and the angel told him it took him 141 days to break. Man, I have to go back and read it. I think it was Jacob. You know the story I'm talking about?
I do.
Where he, and it took him like 140 something days to get there, an angel.
Yep, that's about right. Yep, that's about right.
Hey, brother.
Go ahead. If you need a bell, go ahead.
And I got to get a shower, and it's already 10:30, and I got to get up like super, super early. But I just want to tell everybody I love you guys. Sorry I was late getting on here. I got as quickly as I could. Emil, love you, brother. And
I love you too, brother.
I'll be talking to you as soon as I possibly can. Hopefully I can give you a call on the way home tomorrow, or excuse me, Wednesday. So I'm even losing track of time. All right.
Good. Have a blessed night.
Yeah, you too, man. Love y'all.
Take care. Bye. All right, y'all. I'm still here. I'm going to finish this up. So we're talking about the 3 city-states that control the world. You have the City of London that controls the world's finances. You have the Vatican City that controls religion, and Washington, D.C. that controls the military might of the world. These 3 are sovereign corporate entities that are not part of the countries they're located in. We're being ruled by worldwide maritime law. The Constitution does not affect the ground, the land we actually live on. Corporate Earth Inc. is run by the New World Order under maritime law via the birth certificate spelling fraud that was set up by the Vatican. If you go back to 1302, it's called the Unum Sanctum Act of 1302, and of 1666, it's called the Cestui Quivi. All right. These were laws put in place by the Vatican to control all of humanity and to enslave us. All right. The Roman Catholic Church declared rulership over the whole world in 1302 and has casted a spell. It's called legalese or doublespeak over the world, so to speak, manipulating language to where people create joinder with maritime law, aka the Holy Roman See. So, in other words, we're wards to the state. That's what it's basically created us, as wards to the state. When you look at the word register, regis means crown or king. Register is the signing over to a crown or a king. So think of everything that gets registered. Everything from our cars, to our licenses, to our insurance, to our home, to all of our finances, it all gets registered. It's all part of the maritime commerce. All right. This is why they can fine you for risking your own life, for not buckling up, for example, because you agreed to driving. But driving, the literal termination of driving or translation of driving or terminate, I'm using the wrong word. The legal term or definition of driving is the transporting of goods, but that's the straw man, subcorporation, or corpse of the state. However, this is not the case with traveling. You have the right to travel, but typically people say they're driving. So when you get pulled over and the officer says, where are you driving? You tell the officer, I wasn't driving, I was traveling. See, cops are taught not constitutional law. All right, they're taught case law. They're taught case law. And case law helps entrap motorists that have the freedom and right to travel on roadways, freeways, and highways. But if you tell them I'm driving to so-and-so location or destination, they can get you, they can fine you, and they do, and they will. So there are ways that you can get around these things, but you have to be smarter and you have to educate your guys itself about legalese and how you can protect yourselves. All right. It's all possible. This was all possible through, again, the Sistu Qui Trust of 1666. This is why natural rights, natural laws, common laws were violated. We, humanity as a whole, used our free will to give away our free will, self-responsibility, and willingness to learn and question to the papacy, the Holy Roman See, or the Roman Holy See, SEA or SEE. So let's connect the dots to 911 20 years ago. 911 in NASARA, there were 23 farmers that filed a case against the federal banks to reclaim the property of their land and discovered by accident a huge fraud that the New World Order was running under the two constitutions. The farmers won the case, and the act to reverse the fraud was signed up under NASARA, NESARA. U.S. President Bill Clinton was supposed to sign NASARA into law on October 10th, 2000. So let us consider what happened with the creation of the National Economic Securities and Reformation Act, NASARA. The act was passed by the United States Congress on March 9th, 2000, and then sent to President Bill Clinton for his signature. President Clinton signed NASARA into law on October 10th, 2000, and it was supposed to be announced and enacted the morning of September 11th, 2001. At that point, NASARA, as with any legislation so acted upon, became a, quote, law of the land, end quote. But wait a minute. Nobody wanted to enforce it. Nobody wanted to enforce NASARA. Why? Well, no one wanted to enforce NASARA because this law required the physical and permanent removal from their government positions of all those who were treasonous. Those who had deliberately acted outside the Constitution of the Republic had committed treason. Those who were treasonous included the United States President and Vice President, the Presidential Cabinet, all members of Congress, and various government department heads, all 50 governors of the 50 states, judges, and others. To hide NASARA from public view and thus to prevent its enforcement by popular demand, the United States Supreme Court placed a gag order on all public officials. The United States military, law enforcement personnel, bankers, attorneys, judges, the media, and anyone else who knew about NASARA and who might give information about NASARA to the public. If the people learned the truth about NASARA, they would demand its enforcement. This could not be allowed. The plan to hide the two constitutions and NASARA worked well for a time, but gradually the truth about 9/11, the New World Order, Iraq, Afghanistan, NASARA began to leak out to the public. To circumvent any public action to enforce NASARA, a Plan B was created. The plan was to forever delay the enforcement of NASARA by fooling the people with trickery. NASARA was embroiled in fictitious legal procedures and court orders by both the United States Supreme Court and the International Court of Justice. This game of deceit could be played forever. NASARA could be permanently delayed, and the people of the world would never be the wiser. I believe the time is here for us to move into this 5D, fifth dimension state of structure where equality, peace, and justice will prevail. That means we move out of the mental slavery constructs of the three-dimensional matrix of fear. But it also means breaking free from the physical constructs of the unum sanctum, which is the straw man martial law that has kept us in financial slavery. So I know that's a lot to take in, so please review what I shared with you, friends, tonight. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And we have the Most High Elohim, Yahuwah, and we have Christ Messiah, Yeshua, on our side. So all things are possible. All things are possible. I know it feels bleak at times, but at the end of the day, we know how this story ends, friends, don't we? So we just need to get our homes in order. We need to get our houses prepared for whatever may come, good or bad. It doesn't matter. We still need to be prepared nonetheless. And the most important thing we can do is to fortify ourselves, fortify our families, and fortify our homes, and exercise common law, natural law given to us by the Most High. So I've jabbered on now for almost 2 hours. I know you guys got other things to do with your evening. I appreciate Dave coming into our show tonight and contributing. We miss him. Please pray for him and his family, that there's well-being being done for them. Please pray again for the families, the mothers, the fathers, the brothers and sisters, the children of those soldiers and Marines and innocent Americans that have been taken from us over in Afghanistan by this dastardly deed that's happened. Please pray for them and keep them in your prayers. I love these comments here. You know, how do they retrieve the soul? I love these things. Thank you, Anthony. I love you too. Thank you for your support at Triple R. I appreciate everything you guys contribute. And I need to make a shameless plug. So we've launched our Patches for Heroes Telegram channel. We are launching an initiative by the end of this month where we are going to get this stem cell quantum healing technology into the hands of active duty and veteran military personnel, firemen, police officers, paramedics, anybody that's on the front line as our defenders that have served or are currently serving. We need to help them. We need to get them this technology so they can start receiving healing as they're helping to battle on our behalf or have battled for us and have served diligently and honorably on our behalf. The least we can do is provide these people and their families health assurance, not insurance, but health assurance that there is a way that they can repair and heal from the damage that they've incurred while serving us and still currently serve us. So please go to Patches for Heroes at Telegram and subscribe to that channel and stay tuned. We're going to keep talking more and more and more about this amazing technology. We have so many people, and for those people, I have got samples that are coming your way. So everybody that's been emailing me desiring samples, those samples are coming forthwith over the next day or two. You guys should be receiving them. I will be contacting those that have already received samples over the last week and following up with you folks as well. Okay. And Viking, I also want to let you know that LifeWave is a direct sell company. I'm an independent contractor. So I will send you some samples too, brother. And I will, if you contact me, somehow contact me so I can contact you back. I actually have an email set up at Proton that is secure. It's a secure email line that's encrypted. And so if you reach out to me at support@redneckrenegade.com, support@redneckrenegade.com, and just shoot me a quick email of how I can respond to you, I will respond to you via my secure email line. All right. But I want to get you some of this product. So anyways, again, I'm just enjoying seeing all the comments that you guys are stating here and sharing with each other, all this wonderful knowledge that you guys are sharing with each other. Wow, I love it. Well, it's coming to an end, folks, for tonight. We're going to be back here on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central. I'm going to be doing some shows and trying to do some live video chats on our Telegram channel at Redneck Renegade Radio and also at Patches for Heroes Telegram channel. We're going to start doing that and see how this works out. This is just another way for us to communicate with each other, because who knows if the internet goes down or if certain platforms on the internet goes down, we've got to have backup communication sources. So Telegram is one. I've set up a Getter account, and I'll advertise that out to let you guys know how you can contact us on Getter and follow us on Getter. I've got our Rumble channel that's set up too. So I'll continue to set up some of these great other platforms that we can keep communicating with. All right. So I love you all. And let me say a quick prayer for everybody. And then I'll let you all go. So if you'll give me a moment here. Thank you. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, the Most High Elohim Yahuwah, you are the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We thank you, Father God, for all the blessings that you continue to pour out upon us. We're thankful, Father, for the opportunity we have to try and be of one mind and one heart with your will, Father. We ask that you forgive us. Forgive us of our shortcomings. Forgive us of our short-sightedness. Forgive us of our pride. And please replace those shortcomings with the love that can only come through Christ's Messiah, Yahusha, and through his atoning blood that has allowed us to someday be able to return into your fold, Father. Please bless us that we may have the gifts of the Spirit, that we may have the armor of God put upon us so that we can go and do battle at your will, Father, and combat and go against the principalities and dominions of the darkness and all those that are contained thereof. Father, we love you. We love you. We love our Savior, Christ Messiah, Lord Yahusha. Please watch over everybody that watches this video, that's watching us live or may watch this video later. Please protect them, protect their homes, protect their families against the ravages of viruses, bacteria, and other illnesses and diseases, Father. We need all the help that we can get in these last days. May we have our spiritual mind and eyes open to what is happening around us. We love you again, Father. This humble prayer I leave at the feet of your altar in the holy, sacred name of Christ Messiah, Yahusha. Amen. So, again, thank you everybody for tuning into our show tonight. Thank you for those that are going to watch this video later on. I appreciate your support so much. Dave and I do. We appreciate your support so much. If there's any of those that are going to watch this video that haven't contacted us, reach out to us. Let us know so we can get you some free samples of X39 sent to you, because we want you to experience some relief in your life. Okay? I love you. And as always, keep your powder dry. Have a blessed evening.